I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. The purpose of this episode is to recap the loss to the San Francisco 49ers, who are on fire at the moment. And meanwhile, we made ourselves a quarterback change. So we're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about the quarterback change. But first, as always, we begin with K-Dot. K-Dot, how are you? How was your Christmas, etc.?
I am the greatest.
Cool.
I said that even before I knew I was.
I was willing to roll with it until you said that part. Oh my God. Go ahead.
How about I leave, baby? Christmas has been great. I lost a lot of money. They should really stop FanDuel from offering me shit. Fucking one leg on parlays all goddamn weekend. It's been a
you
pain
and
in
a
the
lot of people, my friend. You and a lot of people.
Oh, motherfucker. But beyond that, I mean, Commanders game went about the way as I thought it was going to, and yeah, just wasn't happy about it, but still managed to pull together an okay Christmas. How about you?
Hey, it was a good Christmas. Hung out with the fam. It was a good time. Had some friends over, which was nice. That didn't have fam in the area, so it was good to see them. Good to see the family. Saw some movies. It was a good time. But like you said, hey, let's talk about this game, right? So we lose 37-20 against the San Francisco 49ers on the road. Now we did, from a playoff picture perspective, maintain the 7 seed, and it's very important to note that. So with 2 games left against the Cleveland Browns and against the Dallas Cowboys, both home games, if we win those 2, we are in. Okay, so first let's start there. Now, let's talk about this game, because a few things happened, K-Dot. The passing game actually looked pretty good to start the game, but a quarterback change eventually occurs. Taylor Heinicke finished the game 13 of 18, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, a back-breaking pick, and a lost fumble as well. Back-to-back possessions, there were 2 turnovers. Ron Rivera makes the call to make the change to Carson Wentz, who comes in 12 of 16, 123 yards and a touchdown in relief. Both quarterbacks finished with a passer rating above 110. Both quarterbacks, from a QBR, the ESPN statistic perspective, were 0's the worst, 100's the best. Heinicke finished with an 84.1, and Wentz finished with a 70.6. Just take that to mean both played pretty well at that position overall. Brian Robinson, 22 carries, 58 yards. We said stick with the run, give him the ball. We did, and I think it did help. Honestly, I know that you look at the average of 2.6 and you go, no, it's not good. I actually think he did what he was supposed to do, and it did help out the passing game. And then each of our big 3, McLaurin, Dotson, Samuel, each catch a touchdown, each looked good. And then on defense, we sorely missed one Cameron Curl at the safety position. George Kittle, who he was going to be responsible for helping coverage with and even taking on one-on-one, 6 catches, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns to help Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy in that game. So, K-Dot, let's go ahead and let's get to the thing everybody wants to talk about. Carson Wentz got put in for Taylor Heinicke. Ron Rivera has not named a starter, but I think it's pretty clear in the way in which it occurred that he was looking for any moment to be able to pull Heinicke, because I think in Ron's head it is Carson gives this team a better chance to win long-term, and we need to see what we have. So talk to me about it. Were you okay with the way in which it occurred? Is it irrelevant? And how do you feel about Carson moving forward? Because he will be the starter.
I love that you added that piece at the end. It is fairly irrelevant in the way that everything kind of went down. You guys have heard me ad nauseum on this podcast talk about, I said podcast, but on here talking about how
this elite show. Yeah, go ahead.
This elite show. Heinicke's play has frustrated me. even in this game, it frustrated me. And the thing is, if you look at the stats, if you look at the QBR, if you look at those things, and you're like, oh, well, he didn't really do enough to get sacked, especially, or benched, say, because he got sacked twice, benched in this game compared to other things we've seen. Yeah. Right. Other than, because we've seen him play worse in other games, right? Mm-hmm. But then, like, NFL Plus or Premium, whatever, hasn't released the all 22 yet of this game. Usually there's like a 24, 40-hour waiting period. I guess everybody's on fucking vacation because none of the all 22s are available. But you can see, I rewatched the game, at least a good portion of it last night. Heinicke does what he's always doing, which is making life harder for himself. Like, the results are still there, but even if you look at the touchdown to Terry McLaurin, the 3-yard touchdown, right? If he reads it right, he's got Jahan way open earlier as soon as he drops back. He just misses, he doesn't see it. Or you see the throw to Jahan that was behind him, that if he just puts a little bit of touch or leads him out, that's a touchdown. Like, there are tons of things that you're looking at Taylor and you're just like, dude, you manage to pull things out of your ass all the time. And it's great. But you could play so much simpler if you just had certain tools to execute and to get guys the ball when they need to, so that we're not feeling completely on our fucking heels the entire time trying to make something work. Like, there's a flow that needs to happen with it. And that's the thing, is Heinicke didn't look as comfortable as he usually looks in the pocket. And here's the thing, all right for it. The offensive line played like shit. Even with just the 2 sacks, it should have been more than that. But bad snaps. Look, Charles Leno is one of the best dudes that I think have ever come through this organization as far as guys go. Mm-hmm. Bosa beat that motherfucker like a drum constantly in that game. If you look at also just pass pro with some of the running backs, if they're going out for a route, not getting the chip that they need on some of the guys, at least as they're leaving, and then the tight ends. All these guys at tight end have played pretty fucking miserable this year compared to what it is we thought they would be. Yeah. So, look, I'm with Ron. You guys know I'm with Ron on this, that I do think Carson gives us the best shot to win. It does suck as a person that you like Taylor Heinicke. You appreciate everything he's done for us. You appreciate the story, the narrative, all of that. To see and you hear the story about, like, when he gets benched, he shoves his helmet. Like, I understand the frustration because, look, certainly, I didn't play bad, right? I didn't play bad enough to get benched right now. Like, come on, guys. And then, look, coaching staff, we'll get into some of the other stuff because they did not set Heinicke up in the best position fucking either in this game with some of the play calling and some of the decision making that they were making, going for it in your own fucking territory against San Francisco when you're in a 1-score game. Like,
we'll talk about the 4th down decisions and calls, and those are different.
Yeah.
The decision to go, and then what the play call was on it. Right. Correct. Go ahead.
But Heinicke, man, like, look, the road might be over here in Washington for him. Because I do think that he's done enough where I'd assume somebody's going to come sniffing. I would love to see him finish his career as a backup here in Washington. I think he's amazing at that. I think he could come in on stretches if somebody was injured, but I have seen everything I need to see within the constructs of this offense from Heinicke to know that he is plateaued.
Okay. So my thoughts on it are ultimately irrelevant as well. I can completely understand Heinicke's perspective, right? So he has played, to me, his best or second best game of the season. Best would be the Philadelphia game, right, where I think he managed it extremely well. You mentioned the only pushback I'd have is you mentioned, there was a moment he could have seen Jahan and thrown it. I think a lot of even starting QBs do not make perfect reads constantly. I think it goes both ways.
He's never making the right reads.
I would disagree with that.
Always making it harder.
So hold on.
He's always making it harder.
Okay, a lot of QB. Hold on one second. I'm saying that let's be fair here. Carson's going to miss some reads too. It happens to everybody is my point. Everybody misses them.
Not letting it slide. Nope, I'm pushing back this time. Dude, I have to push back. I'm pushing back hard on you.
Burrow.
Ew, power bottom.
Literally the elites don't miss it. That's why they're elite.
No, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's the same thing. even when he's completing passes, the Terry McLaurin touchdown in the end zone, right, is not the right fucking read. He's triple covered. He makes the wrong decision, and it works out because of the talent of the skill position players. That's not what the other guys do. Yes, you can miss a read, but when almost every decision you make is the wrong fucking decision, but you have skills guys that bail you out, that's the trouble. That's why it's all 22 so frustrating. There is the right decision. He doesn't make it. He throws a ball that's a much harder ball to throw, and Terry or Jahan have to reach in and pull up whatever inside Randy Moss they might have to make a miraculous fucking play. When the play that puts them in the best position to actually be a playmaker, to take care of the ball with the yak to other things, is not happening. When you got a guy streaking across the field and they have speed and there's a touchdown there, but you throw it in the double fucking coverage, they have to stop on a dime, jump up over a guy to go catch a fucking football. There's no touchdown happening. That's the issue. He works out because of how talented the skills guys are. He's making the wrong decision almost all the fucking time.
I think
he's Brett Favre-ing it without his arm talent.
I think you're going too far in one direction. I understand where you're coming from. But all I'm saying is that he will make more incorrect reads than the average. I'm not saying he doesn't. Okay. Just to be clear. All I'm saying is that I think I want you to, moving forward, keep the same energy for Carson as well.
100%.
That's it. Because the level of nitpicking that occurs, and this is not the point of this podcast, just to be clear. It's fine that he got benched. It's fine moving forward to Carson. Let's see how he does. We have a contract decision to make on him, and we need to see, to your point, we have Chase Young back, who played great. We're going to talk about that. We have Cam Curl probably coming back this week. It seemed like he was kind of close to playing. St. Juice did play. He was hurt. But we have a healthier defense. We have Brian Robinson, who's running pretty well overall. So to your point, Carson's got a lot now that he didn't necessarily have before. And it looked like he was pretty confident coming in relief. So I have no issue with that. I'm just saying that when we say, oh, on this exact play, he could have done this.
It's not
there are
a
number of other QBs that also do the same thing. Just keep the same energy.
Stop. No, y'all can't fucking do that. I'm so tired of that shit. I'm so fucking off. No, fuck that. I'm off of this.
Move forward.
We're not off of that. It's the bottom line with this fucking Heinicke hive. We're not nitpicking. It's all the time. This is not Tom Brady throwing 2 picks last night and look fucking shitty. Every quarterback has that. It's right. Whitey, everything you do is much harder than it needs to be. All the time. All the time. This is the issue with Heinicke.
I still
it's not
think
nitpicking.
You're now missing the point. You're going on a tangent where there's no need to. He's gone. Right?
No, because here's the thing.
He is gone.
No, because y'all still are trying to because fuck that revisionist
what am I trying
bullshit.
To say?
No,
what am I trying to say?
You're trying to say that what you guys are waiting for is that when
not us guys. What am I trying to say?
You want me to keep the same energy for Carson Wentz that I'm keeping for Taylor Heinicke.
Yeah.
I'm telling you the same way I'm telling everybody else. You cannot compare what Taylor Heinicke is doing to the other guys in the league that misread sometimes. It's not what's happening. Y'all are setting up this thing so that if Carson throws interceptions or whatever, you guys can say, well, he's just doing the same thing that Taylor Heinicke is doing. It's not the case. It's not equivalent. He is not doing
that yet.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Taylor
Heinicke.
One was
on purpose. That one was on purpose.
Taylor Heinicke. I love him. He's a baller. But the thing that he does, this is why he's called Shane Falco to me. Shane Falco's a movie quarterback. You know what movie quarterbacks in those plays do? They have to make it dramatic for the sense of the audience watching the fucking game. But guess what great quarterbacks do? Make the fucking right throw to make it as simple as possible.
As an entertainment.
It's not the WWE fucking Ahmed. It's a competition to try to get. So what you want to do is deliver as a quarterback. You know what you are? A delivery system. You need to make sure you deliver the fucking ball as best as possible to the guys that make the fucking play.
Because okay. My job is host. Because this could go on forever. And we have found the button, and we have established that with you.
It's been the goddamn button, Amit.
Let's go ahead and talk about the guy who will be starting. Let's talk about Carson. So, sorry, I need a moment there. So, Carson will be starting the next 2 games. I know Ron hasn't officially said it, but it's going to happen. So, with 2 games left at home, is the expectation we are definitely winning both? Let's talk about the expectations for Carson. What makes it good? Because I want to talk about 2 things here. I want to talk about the playoff push, and I also want to talk about next year. What do you need to see from Carson? Let's talk about a contract next year to pick up that option, right? Where I believe it's 26 million owed. What do you need to see from him for that? And then we'll get to the more right now playoff push bit.
Okay, fair. If you're talking about what we need to see him pick up the option, is damn near flawless football. And I don't know if Carson Wentz is capable of that. I have severe doubts that Carson Wentz is capable of flawless fucking football, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm looking at Carson, I'm looking at what it is that you were doing at the beginning of the season that I need to see the improvement for right now to say that you're trending in the right direction and that the trend will continue to go forward or up, right? Mm-hmm. So when I'm looking at even this, now the thing is that when you're looking at the San Francisco defense and when Carson came into the game, they were playing softer than what you would typically see over the flow of an entire game, right? So if they're playing softer and what he was doing was he was dinking and dunking,
which we've talked about ad nauseum. Yeah,
right.
He did a good job of that. Yeah.
He did a great job of that. So I'm looking at one thing. I'm like, all right, he didn't force it into double coverage or triple coverage where he didn't need to. Step in the right direction, Carson. Cool. Sure. But also when you're playing that prevent sort of defense, you're not getting the same pass rush that he would typically get, right? So while he did see some pressure at certain times, he absolutely saw some pressure. He took no sacks. Step in the right direction. What do you look like next week when it comes to Cleveland? Now, Cleveland to San Francisco, night and day fucking difference as far as just the talent standpoint. But that's not to say that Cleveland is somebody you can just overlook. When it comes to they
can't overlook anybody. Houston look over Tennessee. Houston almost beat Kansas City. Like
Cleveland's got a pass rush. Cleveland's got a fucking pass rush. So the thing with Carson is
that we can't block.
And we can't block. But the thing is, Carson, what are you doing with the ball? What I saw in the San Francisco game is pocket starting to collapse. My first and second read aren't open. I'm taking the open hit. Boom. Decision made, done, deal, go to the next play. Big step in the right direction. The only other piece that I really want to see is a little bit of that Heinicke in Carson,
which I think you saw with that little flip.
Yeah, the flip.
Right, well, as he's going down.
The flip was awesome. But I'm saying the main thing that I want to see as far as a little bit of Heinicke is
taking the shot.
Take the shot. So, even if it isn't, once again, I criticize Taylor because he does it too often. But what Carson needs to do is every once in a while throw caution to the wind. And sometimes it's not going to work out for you. All quarterbacks have it happen to them. But every once in a while, when you do have skills position players that can do that, you have to throw it up. You can't be completely risk averse, right? You have to take some risk. And the thing that Carson does is that at least with him, typically the ball will maybe sail over everybody. So there's not a chance for an interception all that much. But that's what I want to see is that where are you with your looking through your progressions and how comfortable are you sitting there in that pocket?
Okay. And so I think, I think from a risk perspective, I think he took a fair number of risks early on. I think that this time around, to your point, healthier, there's more chemistry amongst the teams, stuff like that. And I think what people also need to note is while he's been out, it's not that he's failed to exist as a human being.
Right.
He's been breathing. He's been, having his meals. He's been studying, you'd think, right? And been getting better at the position, getting to know the guys, like the things that would need to happen while he's playing. Some of those things were still happening while he wasn't playing. So you want to see, did he make those improvements? Does he have the faith of the line, of the wide receivers, of Scott Turner, of Ron Rivera? I think he certainly has it with Ron. Does he have it with everybody else? So that's what I'm more curious to see because, if he ends up looking really good, then, you have every reason to pick up that option. Let's talk about these next 2 games. So you had mentioned, hey, take what the defense gives you, but also throw caution to the wind a little bit. Let's say he looks good, but we lose both. What does that look like?
I won't pick up the option.
Okay. So it is also a function of the result.
To a certain degree. I mean, the only reason I say that is that it's a significant amount of money.
It is.
And so, like, you want
Although
results.
at the QB position, sorry to interrupt, at the QB position, it's not as much as it is for others, but then you talk about Deron Payne and maybe extending him, and it all connects. So
there you go. So that's where it goes to. Would I rather? This is where it goes to. Like, even if, do I see a scenario at all in which I'm okay with Taylor Heinicke starting for the Washington Commanders next season to start the season? Yeah, totally.
Me too.
From a financial standpoint, right?
Yep.
So what to me is that, like, if Carson doesn't come out here and play on fucking fire, then I'm sorry, I can't afford it because we have other things to address. I got to pay Deron Payne. I need to retool the entire offensive line. I'm going to do that through the draft and fucking free agency. And it looks like I need a fucking tight end, even though I thought the position was goddamn cool. And Mike Gesicki, maybe I'm making some calls. So, like, there's a semblance of after the season, and you're looking at stuff. We knew certain positions are good, but we're going to need to retool. And $26 million to Carson Wentz for 2 losses in crunch time.
Ultimately,
I'm not all right with it. You see what I'm saying? So, like, that at the end of the day, it is what it is. Now, if we put up 45 points each day and the defense for some reason just breaks down,
then you can go, what the fuck? Like, that's definitely not his fault in that situation.
But if he comes out here, we play on fire these next 2 games, we make the playoffs, and in the playoff game, he's right there. And we're close to doing it. Then I look at that situation, I'm like, hey, Carson has showed improvement. And I'm willing to pick up the option because it's hard to find a fucking quarterback.
It is. And so, just again, I think he began the season with a lot of confidence. He got 4 touchdowns against Jacksonville. He did have a couple picks, but then he also had 3 touchdowns against Detroit after an awful first half. Second half, it felt like garbage time, but all of a sudden it was a game. Like, and he had those 3 touchdowns.
The defense was playing like shit. We had no running game.
Cam Curl comes back. Things begin to change. So against Philly, didn't play well, though. Against Dallas, didn't play well. 2 of the better teams in the NFC, as you end up seeing. Tennessee, Brian Robinson returns. We have the end zone pick. And then against Chicago, before they figure out how to use Justin Fields, we win 12-7. They also had Darnell Mooney drop it at the goal line or 1-yard line. So
Carson breaks his finger, still plays through the game.
It still plays through. But this is where some fans will be coming from. It's like, hey, those last few games we didn't like. But again, with this time off, we'll see how that goes.
Yep.
But let's talk about the game itself. San Francisco, one of the better teams in the NFL. They consistently produce pressure. Our offensive line is not good. And I think it was when we let go of Brandon Scherf, we knew we would take a hit. It shouldn't be this bad, though, K-Dot. What has happened to this offensive line? Now, I know that center, we got Wes Schweitzer, and he's been filling in because Nick Martin's not that good and Tyler Larson's on IR and Chiefs Rouillier's out. Like, it's a no excuses league, but I mean, fourth center, like, you can almost understand that, but the rest of them, like, what the heck is going on?
There's no anchor. So the thing with offensive lines, that usually you'll see offensive line have success if they have at least consistency, because it's a group that has to play as a group. You have individual guys that will always be the best here, best there, right? But like Brendan Scherf could be on this team playing lights out at one guard position, and if if the tackles aren't doing anything properly, it's all for fucking naught, right? And I actually think on PFF, I haven't checked recently, but the last time I did check, Norwell was ranked higher in PFF than fucking Scherf was this year, which is fucking nuts.
It also makes you wonder about PFF, man.
Right, it makes you wonder about that, right? So, like,
interesting things out there, yeah.
So it's weird, but even like, so the thing is that, like, when I talk about an anchor, I look across that offensive line and I'd say the best guy on the offensive line, as far as anyone healthy, injury not, is Chase Rouillet. If at least you had Chase Rouillet healthy for the entire season, you'd have somebody that could be there consistently as the guy that everybody else can follow, right? You look through it, there's no real guy that we can say, hang your hat on, you're doing absolutely the best job. You've been there since day one, and you're killing it. Probably the leader on that offensive line is Charles Leno. Great guy, amazing dude. Love his wife, Jen. Love everything they do. They're fucking incredible. Leno should not be a starting left tackle. It's just not okay. He
Not
gets
at this point.
not
I
at
think
this.
early on he was fine. But like the last couple of weeks in particular has been
No, I've been over it for a minute, and the reason
really
I've been over for a minute because of something that we never talk about because it gets forgotten in the course of the game. How many times over the course of this season has a 15 to 20 yard run that's going to first down end with a hold by Charles fucking Leno?
That is true. I wasn't paying
kills the
attention
offense.
to if it was Leno specifically, but there are holds. Oh my gosh.
It's Leno a lot. And it's usually it's early in the game.
Mm-hmm.
The offense is starting to click. It's usually the first or second drive. Though shit, the run game's getting going, guys. We look good. Oh shit, now we're at first and 20, first and 25 or some shit. No, right. First and yeah. And first and 20.
In this case, against the best defense in the NFL.
And now you can't run it again because you need to make up that ground. The passing name doesn't get in the rhythm, and it's over. It's done. Now you're playing catch up, especially if the other team scores because you're gonna punt, right? So it's a killer that doesn't get discussed because it gets lost in the sauce of the game. It's crucial that ends. That cannot fucking happen. And the offensive line has gotten beat like a drum, but you can't blame them. I don't even blame the offensive line now. I blame the coaching staff that doesn't have the depth required to make the positions work because we don't. I still look at why the fuck is Eric Flowers here? Unless Mike can give me
that every week, and I agree with you.
Unless Mike can give me an honest answer on why the fuck Eric Flowers is here, I got an issue with it. So, look, comment section. Maybe it's something clear that I'm just not seeing. Answer it for me. Why the fuck isn't he here?
I mean, I've been looking online. I don't have an answer other than stubbornness.
So
a desire to be right, and it's not working out.
Now, I don't blame them for losing Sheriff. He wasn't going to resign. They offered him a ton of fucking money. He wasn't going to come. Fuck off. Don't give a shit. Yeah. But there's thinking you could just re-sign a bunch of guys from Carolina, Trey Turner, whoever, and it's going to work out. This is your offensive line.
That is a deeper issue that I would love to talk about sometime. Is their loyalty to a situation that wasn't that good to begin with?
Right.
That is what irritates me about this coaching staff. And I think I try and sort of be nice. I think I'm sort of starting to lose my lid with Scott Turner, for example. I've been losing it with Ron for some time.
The offensive line is the most egregious part of it, right? It's terrible.
It's awful. But let's flip. I know we gave up 37 points. There were 2 turnovers that put the 49ers in terrific position. What were your thoughts on the defense? And let's talk first about Chase Young, because that's more of a positive. And then let's get to the rest of it. Now, we mentioned Pro Football Focus rating Norwell higher than Brandon Scherf, and I have questions about that. But when they give us a good stat, I'll take it. Chase Young was rated the highest by them out of any other player. He played more than double the snaps he was supposed to. And in the fourth quarter, according to Ron, he was telling him that he wanted to stay in the game and wanted to continue. He had a pass batted down. He was in the backfield. He was forcing himself. There was a 4th and 1 in particular where he literally forced himself. It was either 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 now that I think about it, where he forced himself into the middle to clog it up, to help Allen and Payne clog it up. And we end up getting a stop there. He played great, in my opinion. What were your thoughts on Chase Young's return?
I saw would have pulled his ass. But he played better than he had any business being able to play.
Absolutely.
He far exceeded any expectation you could have for him coming back after this long of not playing against a team this sick. The commentators were saying his presence was felt immediately.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like the bat down balls. And the thing is,
that was better than any game he played last season.
The thing is that you start realizing it's like he's been on the sidelines, like watching. Motherfucker's learning. Like there's always been something instinctive about him, and he's not a dumb player by any means, but he looks smarter than he ever has been. And he's already been a very high IQ player. Like there's certain things that he was doing where you saw, all right, I could stay down here and do this, but you know what? I'm gonna let off, and I'm gonna go over here.
You know, the thing is, so I think a couple things. Just for the sake of drumming up a narrative, He wins Rookie of the Year, and I think he rested on his laurels a little bit. And when, you know what, the league is, I can do this, no problem. You hear about the commercials. He's doing all that stuff. He misses the OTAs last season. So like there are all these things where he's feeling himself a little bit, and you can understand it from a young player.
Mm-hmm.
He gets hurt. Micah Parsons, meanwhile in Dallas, goes apeshit and continues this season. So all the while, Chase is on the sidelines, and the rival team, and again, Chase is from the area, the rival team has a guy that everyone's talking about. He wins Rookie of the Year on defense, and he continues to be excellent. So I think there's also some of that as well, where he goes, okay, well, I want the shine back on me. He's got all the talent in the world. And now, like you said, he's learning. He seems more engaged. Like, and credit to the organization, who a lot of people were like, he should be back by now. He should be back by now. They clearly didn't rush it, and he looked really good. And I think it's fair to be able to, we criticize the org a lot, give them some credit here, because it looks like, knock on wood, they've handled this well.
Yeah, no, I give him credit. But I think the comparison to me was what I saw after the game. He wants Nick Bosa. Like and me, Bosa looks like he's about.
They were teammates, weren't they?
They were at Ohio State.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like there is a limit of that. When you see Bosa and how complete he is, last year what it felt like to me was that Chase Young was getting a little Brian Orakpo-y, which was you're starting to become a one-trick pony. And there's been so many times you could throw your hands up saying they're holding me, ref, before the ref turned to you like they used to do Orakpo and said, "Well, do something else then."
Sure.
So there's a little bit of that I thought with Chase. To me, what I was so impressed with was a lot of times on that defensive line, especially for us, I've been very critical of how outside of the scheme they'll play, how non-disciplined they'll play. Chase had a disciplined game yesterday. The back down, he stopped rushing. He stopped.
Yeah, he did.
He stopped
and
rushing.
He threw his hands up. Yeah.
He threw his hand. He knew Purdy's looking this way. He's going to make the heads up fucking play, man. You saw some of the stuff he was doing with the run, giving up on the pass rush, seeing what's happening, and choosing another lane. And he has the athleticism to make that happen. Those are where the special kind of players lie. It's the ones that know they have the physical gifts and the physical talent, but can understand what's happening on the offense and where you fit within the scheme of the defense to make other people make plays and to make the best play yourself, to not be out of position, to not over pursue, to know I can be here and make the play I need to make. And if he's unlocked that, then yeah, I think JJ Watt, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons doesn't get that level to me yet, even though I think he's more talented than them. He's not there.
He's at that level already.
Micah Parsons was my number one guy in that draft.
He was mine too.
He's my guy. He's my fucking guy. But and I think that, but what they ask of him to do, I'm not going to go deep on the Parsons thing, but Chase Young has it within him to be considered the best player on defense in the league, and I don't, especially with Aaron Donald, it might be over soon. So,
well,
it's exciting.
I think the increased interaction and chemistry again with John Allen's been doing a hell of a lot over the course of his career, and Deron Payne this year in particular has been spectacular.
Oh yeah.
So to have Chase there with him, because this defense, while we're going to see how Carson does, it is an unknown. He could be great, but he could also do some of the boneheaded stuff he's done earlier in his career. I anticipate he actually will be good. But in the event he isn't, we're going to need that defense to continue to step up. I'd also wanted to shout out just the whole defense and Jamin Davis in particular, because he's primarily responsible for these running backs. Christian McCaffrey was largely pedestrian. 15 carries, 46 yards. He got the touchdown at like the very end, just because another turnover. What was it? A 1 yard punch in, and 2 catches for 12 yards. So like, I just want to acknowledge that, yeah, the rest of it went to Kittle, and you have to stop both. That's your job. But that was the most pedestrian McCaffrey's looked in a 49ers uniform. No, I wanted to shout out the defense for that.
I give you that. That's why I'm waiting for the all 22, because what I was feeling in that game was that they were I felt as though we were so focused on McCaffrey that other things were opening up, which makes sense in the sense of the way they scheme it. But I really wanted to look at the all 22 to see if what I thought was happening was happening.
I think we would have been able to do a better job on Kittle at the very least if Curl were healthy.
Oh, absolutely.
But right. And so I think we would have been able to do both. I think this was, in this situation, we've seen what the defense looks like without Cam Curl. And the point total we gave up was the highest since Cam Curl last missed a game. Like
Mhm.
he is so important to our defense, and we keep mentioning Pro Football Focus. He is the number 1 ranked safety, or at least was at one point. It showed yesterday, because or day before, excuse me, Saturday game, because we sorely missed his presence over there.
Yeah, man. Like
Go ahead.
There's we met a team that's clearly better than us. We talked about that in the preview.
From the roster perspective, from how their QB's
Just a
playing
better
perspective, yes.
If you look at just injuries to us, I know the Brock Purdy thing. I get it. But what that's why I tried to break it down.
We did a decent job on him.
We did.
Yeah, you know.
So like even with and I know I went long form on the Purdy thing as far as how he works with the Shanahan office. That's why I did, was to let everybody know a loss against San Francisco with the way this team is not something that you need to be depressed about. We have an offensive line that's playing like shit.
Mm-hmm.
You have a quarterback situation that's in flux. And you have the injuries to probably our keyest defender on the team in Cam Curl, who's like the make or break guy really for the defense. You're not supposed to win that game. You're not.
Correct.
And also the other thing that you got to give us credit for, we scored more points than that San Francisco defense than anybody since Kansas City in fucking week 7. So,
and I mean, again, to Taylor's credit, he played well until those last 2 drives where he gets blindsided and he loses the football. And frankly, I know there was pressure, but if you're playing for a starting job and you know how tight your leash is, it's ultimately an inexcusable throw.
I say
that
Taylor,
ends up being the INT, right?
Taylor did not play that well, but his results were awesome at the beginning of that game. And
it's called district divided for a reason, brother.
And then we found the 2 excuses to pull his ass out.
Yeah.
Because the Heinicke hive was going to be coming for Ron Rivera's head if it wasn't a legitimate reason.
Hey, and some don't feel still do not feel it was justified. For me, I understand it because it's not just off of that game. It was off of a few others, and more specifically the Giants game in recent memory, which was very frustrating for everybody involved. I think the best Heinicke is always the one with no expectations. There were no expectations in this game. He was 13 of 17 until 13 of 18 with the pick, right? So like you look at it from the statistic perspective, from the passer rating perspective, the QBR perspective, this was his best, if not second best game against San Francisco, and before that Philly. So I understand that side as well.
That's fair.
So now let's go ahead and do you want to jump into the comment mailbag now, or did you want to talk about anything else in regard? Oh, the 4th downs. Let's talk about the 4th downs. I knew I was forgetting something. What were your thoughts when it was 0-0? It was 4th and goal at the 1. There seemed to be some division. I personally think there was a lot of hindsight coaching. You're on the road, take the points. I loved the decision to go for it on 4th and goal at the 1-yard line. I understand how good that defense is, and it's for that reason, ironically, that I'm saying punch it in for 7, because 3 is not going to be enough. We know how good they are overall. Now, I have a problem with the call because I don't think it should have been Gibson in the backfield. I think it should have been Robinson in the backfield. That's where my issue was. You have a guy that you know is good in short yardage, that each time you need a yard, finds a way to give you a yard. And if he gets hit at first, he continues to power through. I don't know why he's not in the backfield, but I love the decision. What were your thoughts on that?
I agree 100% without a shadow of a doubt. I know that some people are like, well, you threw it to get down here, so throw it in the end zone. No. Robinson, yeah, I agree completely. And I let Heinicke waving the team. No, we're doing this. Go back. Was it's kind of dope to see. Like I understand in that position right there. I think we said it one of the other goal line stops, which was that if I need to run it 4 times with Brian Robinson and I don't get a yard, they outplayed us.
But I play to the other team. Exactly.
Right. But you do it. And you remember when you had that debate about the goal line thing, and then they showed that stat in the fucking game, or our efficiency in the fucking red zone as far as touchdowns.
I do remember that.
Yeah, it was 29. It was 30. It was like 29 to 30 something, right?
I think we're 30th. Yeah.
God damn it. Fucking frustrated. But yeah, no, I agreed with it completely. If you get that score against them in that sort of position, you're doing it up. And you have a defense that plays pretty good. You turn it over and you got to make them drive down the field that way. Nobody can see that coming. I agree with it completely. But the other
one's an interesting call or interesting decision. Again, we're making the distinction between decision. Are you going for it or are you not? And call. What is the play? So the decision to go for it on 4th and 1 at your own 35. What did you think of that? Let's start with
dumb as fuck.
I wasn't in the dumb as fuck category. I didn't like it. I will say that. I would have punted given the way our defense was playing. Shout out Brendan Nichols actually in our chat who had mentioned it. I would have punted that because I thought the defense was doing just fine. The risk reward in that situation is very different from 7 points versus 3 and
the field
0.
position. Right.
Exactly. You're not at the opposing 35 where it's a 52-yarder versus, right? It is we are giving this up at our 35 or 1st and 10 at the 36.
In a one-score game.
In a one-score game in the second quarter. It didn't make sense to me.
It did. And the thing is that you saw Ron having to yell at the punt team to go back. I don't understand what happened. It felt so counter to anything that Ron was doing.
What happened? Sometimes we don't need to overthink it. That was bad coaching because you saw Ron wave him back. It's that simple. That was not a good idea. He has the nickname Riverboat Ron, right? But especially if you look at the last few weeks, we've been critical over him not going on a 4th down, but a different territory. Yes.
I just don't see how you could contemplate that it's the same scenario that he was getting criticized for. I don't understand. It felt so counter to everything that he's done that it came out of left field to me. I'd like to know what happened so it doesn't happen again. Because it felt so not on point or on brand.
He went into this game knowing I need to be aggressive, and to beat this team, we are going to need to do some unorthodox things, make some unorthodox decisions to be able to. That was as unorthodox as it gets. I think even when you're playing a team that good, you don't need to go for it there. I disagreed with that decision. I wasn't the dumbest fuck thing, but I was very much we should not do this. I
was angry.
I'm against
I was yelling. I was yelling at the TV.
I was probably like 70-30 punt. So, I was like, I wasn't so like 90-10 or 95-5. I'm just being honest. Cause in that moment, I was like, but I was still like, don't. And ultimately, hey, if we had made it, we're like, hey, good call. But we didn't because it ended up being a sneak. If you're going to sneak, maybe sneak with the other guy, right? Like wait for the 6'5" North Dakota State dude to do it. But anyway, that was
also when you trust and Brendan Nichols, who you gave the shout out to, actually said Trustway as a weapon, especially in that field position. But you saw the 35, that's perfect for him to do his thing.
And make Purdy make a mistake. He was making mistakes. He was looking a little rattled. Anyway, let's just jump over to this comment mailbag. So we're gonna start with the most recent one, and then we're gonna go back. So there was one comment that as we finished recording the previous episode, we ended up receiving a comment. So we're gonna read that second because there's a pretty deep question in there that we're gonna answer, and it'll lead to after the pod. So. First off, on this last video from Drunken Donuts, shout out Drunken Donuts, appreciate it. Great show, really enjoyed it. Keep up the good work, much better than some of the other crap out there. Well, appreciate the comment, Drunken Donuts. I really do.
It's a great name.
And yeah, I know it is, right? When I read it, I was like, oh, I do like that. And hopefully you continue to watch Drunken Donuts. Appreciate it. And then we've got from the previous episode. So it's important to mention that because the context is the Giants loss. Okay. Ridge, wear your helmet on. Appreciate it as always, Ridge. Appreciate the analysis, but we got absolutely robbed. No pass interference. Fine. Ref who flagged Terry should be publicly executed while Carson Wentz bangs his wife. His words. That being said, let me get the District divided all 22 from the Dan Snyder era, plus special teams and coaches. Does that team win a Super Bowl this year? That's one question. Or more importantly, what is the score if they play the Niners this weekend? Okay. And so, because that has a bit more detail to it, we are going to say thank you for watching this episode of District Divided. We're going to get on the after the pod and talk about this in detail.
Can I say something about the first part of his question?
Yes, absolutely.
The first part, before we get into the all 22, which we're going to do. I'm on the same text thread as which wear your helmet at during games.
With an R.
Whatever, fuck him. Even though great question, but the
you're talking about the public execution bit? What are you talking about?
You can't be the guy complaining about the refs every fucking play. And your guys are turning into that in the text thread during the goddamn games. Stop. Just stop. There's not a conspiracy. There's not anything fucking happening. That ref in the San Francisco in the Giants game was fucking dog shit. But hearing you and somebody else constantly every time there's a fucking flag, the refs doing. Shut the fuck up. We're not them. Do not be those guys.
Okay, first off, I'm not one of those guys.
No, you're not.
I know you're not talking about me. But that being said, I understand it. I'm trying to be understanding of human beings.
No,
we just want to win, K-Dot.
No, we're not. It sounded like some convection ass Bears fans and some sweaters from like the 80s. They're always against. Or you sound like a Raider fan, and you don't want to sound like a Raider fan.
I want to answer this question. This is District Divided, a DC Sports podcast, more specifically a Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like it, please share, please subscribe, and please comment because we did make a huge quarterback change. Do you agree with it? Disagree with it? How do you feel about Taylor? How do you feel about Carson? Would you re-sign Carson? What would it take for you to re-sign Carson? Please chime in. We read it, we talk about it, and we appreciate it. After the pod begins right now. Go ahead, K-Dot. Do you want to go, I go QB, you go QB, or do you want to list your 22? I then list my 22. How do you want to
get in discussion? Let's do the full list and then get into it.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, all right. So I'll start with my coaches and then we'll go through. Now what I did was I picked the list is anybody from the Dan Snyder era who played for us. I'm going to do the player. I'm going to do the year that I'm talking about that I'm plucking them out of in this whatever scenario or anything. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Go ahead.
All right. So head coach of this team is Joe Gibbs from 2005. Okay. Our offensive coordinator is Kyle Shanahan from 2012. Mm-hmm. Our defensive coordinator is Greg Williams from 2007.
Okay.
Special teams coordinator is Danny Smith from 2010.
Okay.
Quarterback RG3 from 2012. Running back Clinton Porter from 2005.
Okay.
I have 3 wide receivers, no fullback.
Okay.
Wide receiver 1, Terry McLaurin from 2022.
Okay.
Wide receiver 2 is Santana Moss from 2005.
Yep.
Wide receiver 3 is Pierre Garcon from 2013.
Okay.
Tight end Chris Cooley from 2007.
Obviously. Yep.
Left tackle. This is I kind of switched some positions around a little bit here, but we'll explain it when we get into the further breakdown. Left tackle Chris Samuels from 2005.
Yep.
Left guard John Jansen from 2005.
All right.
Center Casey Ryback from 2005. Right guard Brandon Sheriff from 2016. And right tackle Trent Williams from 2013. Flip it on the defense in the Greg Williams 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
DN1 Ryan Kerrigan 2017.
Okay.
D tackle John Allen 2021.
Yep.
D tackle 2 Deron Payne from 2022.
Yep.
Other DN Chase Young from 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Outside linebacker LeVar Arrington 2001.
All right.
Middle linebacker London Fletcher 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Other outside linebacker Marcus Washington circa 2004.
Uh-huh.
Cornerback Champ Bailey 2002.
Of course.
Other cornerback D'Angelo Hall 2010.
All right.
Free safety Sean Taylor from 2007.
Rest in peace, legend.
Strong safety Ryan Clark from 2005.
Oh, he had a great year in 05.
Kicker Graham Gano 2011.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Punter Tress Way from 2022.
Yep.
And our return specialist, both punt and kicks, Brandon Banks from 2010.
All right, cool. I like your team. I had only a few differences, K-Dot. So I'm looking at it. I chose to put in a fullback on offense instead of a third wide receiver. Had I done a third wide receiver, and I talked to Ridge about this a little bit, it would have been Pierre. So I would have agreed there. I did put in a fullback. I had Mike Sellers in there. And at left guard, I had Derek Dockery. Right tackle, I had John Jansen. So I did not have Trent and Chris because I chose to keep it as what position did you play for us? Stay there.
Gotcha.
If I had moved them around a little bit, you bet your ass both Chris Samuels and Trent Williams are on the team because they have been our two most talented linemen in the Dan Snyder era. Yeah. Okay, without a doubt. So I'll just quickly run through, and then on defense, okay, you know what? Let me just run through mine, and then we'll talk.
Okay.
Offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan, defensive coordinator Greg Williams, special teams coach Danny Smith. So we agreed on those three. My head coach is not Joe Gibbs. My head coach is, to me, one of the bigger what ifs had he stuck around. I chose Marty Schottenheimer because I think we had finished that season 6-2. He had a dog shit roster, and it looked like he was turning that thing around. He and Dan Snyder butt heads. He's gone after an 8-8 season. But that trajectory, I was impressed by, and I was fucking 10. And the more I think about it, I'm like, this dude would have been great for us. So I think Marty with Kyle, Greg, and Danny, great coaching staff. Now, the special teams, I've got the same. Graham Gano, Tressway, and Brandon Banks. I'm glad you also thought of Brandon Banks because that dude in the preseason was great. And then he had a couple in the regular season. Mm-hmm. I thought he was awesome. Always excited when he was on the field. I've also got RG3, circa 2012. Clinton Portis, Santana Moss, Terry McLaurin, Chris Cooley, Chris Samuels, Derek Dockery, Casey Ryback, Brandon Scherf, John Jansen, Mike Sellers. That's my offense. Okay. So 2 wide receivers, a fullback, tight end, etc. Defensive ends. I'm running a 4-3 with Greg, even though he typically runs a 3-4. I don't give a shit. We got Chase Young, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen. I put in Brian Orakpo. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but you know what? Fuck it. He's in there. I got Marcus Washington, London Fletcher, Ryan Kerrigan. We're rushing 5 every play, by the way. Champ Bailey. And I got Sean Springs as my other corner. Free safety, Sean Taylor. Again, rest in peace, legend. Strong safety, I've got Cam Curl. I completely understand the Ryan Clark call. I just think Cam Curl has been nothing short of spectacular. And when he misses a game, it's evident. I love what he does. I love the versatility he brings. I think my safeties are the most versatile, potentially in NFL history, K-Dot. So now the question is, does that team win a Super Bowl this year? Or more importantly, what is the score if they play the Niners this weekend? Let's talk about playing the Niners first. Okay. I think 73-0. We smoked the shit out of this Niners team. Dude, are you kidding me? This defense against Brock Purdy with the level of aggression Greg's bringing, we're bringing the house on the road. Don't care. And who's stopping 2012 RG3? And he's got Terry to throw to? He's got Terry to throw to.
I'm going to say that the way that it shakes out for my team.
Kyle's coaching himself? Some wild stuff going on. Go ahead.
My team, I think what it ends up being is probably around like I'd probably say it'll be like 27-10, somewhere around there, that realm. As far as the way that we play on offense and everything. Yeah, it's I've been really trying to think about this in a really logical,
it was probably
realistic way.
49-3.
49-3. Got it.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I know that there are going to be certain aspects of my team that are going to struggle a bit. And there are certain aspects of the team that I know are going to get right and going to be able to gel immediately. Because if I'm putting all these pieces together and it's like, all right, we're starting year 1, let's go. Yeah, there's going to be some stuff. There's going to be some growing pains with this team. Because look, if I'm looking at RG3, it's 2012 RG3. He's a rookie. The way that and
keep in mind it's week 15. Or is it 16? 16.
So what?
16.
So we put this team together on 1 week notice.
No. We've had him the whole year. So
We had
they're
him the whole-
gelling. They're
yeah,
gelled.
by then.
Marty's on fire right now because he's in his 6-2
Oh,
stretch.
we're in cruise control. We've already
That's what
locked
I'm
up.
saying.
Yeah, we've already. But
We're the 1 seed right now.
We're the 1 seed. So yeah, I'd probably say it'll be 27-10. We jump out to a lead.
Did that change nothing for you?
No, it changed nothing because we jumped out to a lead and then we started their backups in, and they decide they're going to mount some sort of comeback or something, and we're just like, oh, that's cute, but we know we're never really in danger of losing the game. But early on in the season, I say this team would have its growing pains. Now, your team, I'm really surprised by your coaching staff. But we get into this when we talk about the.
So when you say you're really surprised by my coaching staff, you literally just mean the one difference, right?
Yeah.
What's wrong with Marty?
Marty is too strong and opinionated guy for that fucking room.
Have you seen my team? They need it. Okay. This is how you get the best.
I think
out of these guys.
There's a fight. There's a full blown fight in the fucking room.
And that happens in the first half of the season. We've talked about it. That's why we're 2-6.
Oh my God. No, there's a reason you have
stronger.
to have the answer. If you're going to have Kyle and Greg, the only answer is Joe. It has to be Joe. Joe is the only guy that works better with crazy people. If you think about like him dealing with John Riggins,
Marty's insane.
That's more. You can't have the most. You can't have him be
which
insane.
Is why this works. I need a madman in charge.
Plus, Marty has his own ideas on offense.
Think about what Marty and Kyle can come up with. And again, the first half of the season,
they're not going to work together. They are not going to work together.
You don't know that, my friend.
There's no chance.
You don't know that.
What year Kyle Shanahan do you have?
2012, obviously.
There is no chance in hell Kyle and Marty are working.
I think at that point, Marty's like, fuck it, go ahead. He's got his San Diego vibes.
Marty has never had a fuck it bone in his body. It's not a possibility. I really think it. I love the coordinators, but like I look at Joe Gibbs and
no Kyle shit, you picked him.
But yeah, all right, I made the right choice. So I picked Joe Gibbs with Kyle because of what it is I was saying last week when it came to Kyle Shanahan, is that he has changed his philosophy on offense to more of the Air Coryell style of offense, which is a disciple of Joe Gibbs.
If I hear Air Coryell one more fucking time,
you should learn about it more. Oh. So but what Kyle is able to do is if you think about 2012 Kyle Shanahan, he still has the zone run blocking scheme. Guess who? And you know who thrived in the zone blocking scheme? Clinton Portis in Denver when he had those numbers with fucking Mike.
So we got to talk about roles and responsibilities here.
Yes.
Because to me, Marty's more the disciplinarian, making sure people are in line, making sure people are listening to the coordinators, and then occasionally injecting his own ideas as well. I now need to read you this fucking roster. Okay? Because this team, I cannot get over how not... Wait, hold on. Oh, but you did it by year. Darrell Green was 41 years old.
Yep.
But he was technically in the Snyder era. I'm taking Darrell Green over Sean Spriggs. Just throw that in there.
Yeah, I can't take him.
Now my team's unstoppable. Old. Yeah, and he still ran that fucking 4.5. You remember that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm taking him. So I'm looking at this team, dude.
Third best corner on that team.
This is an awful team. This is an absolutely awful team. Tony Banks is a starter at QB. We finished 8-8. Okay.
No, I know, but that was because of Stephen Davis.
Banks. Yeah, we had Stephen Davis as well. It was close for me actually between Portis and Stephen Davis.
I think Stephen Davis is a better choice if you're going to have Schottenheimer. But that's the thing is like I don't know what you guys are running on offense.
I need CP there. I need CP in there.
I don't know what you're running on offense.
I'm not the coordinator. It's up to Kyle and Marty. They'll figure it out.
They're not interchangeable.
I'm helping on the defensive side of things.
Oh my
Greg
God.
and I are dialing up the heat. Okay. Champ's got the clamps.
No, it's
Sean Taylor roaming around. We got Cam Curl roaming around.
It's Joe letting Kyle know.
Comment section. Who has the better team? It's me, obviously, but
it's all right. So beyond even the coaching thing, but the thing with the coach. So the one last thing I'll say about the coaching is that Joe is the facilitator and he's the one that keeps everybody at the even keel. He allows Kyle to cook on offense and he allows Greg, as he did, cook on defense. Mm-hmm. Joe is the calming presence that is there, that exists to keep everybody on a level at which the front office, or at least the coaching staff, have the guy that they can go to if they have the issues, or they have the problems. On offense, if I'm looking at the philosophy of the way this team is working, and even the way that I look at the offensive line, the reason I put Trent Williams at right tackle is because I think Trent is so versatile in what he's able to do. You're going to look at a Kyle Shanahan team that still has the zone blocking scheme that Mike used to have in Denver before he got here to Washington. Clinton Portis thrived in the best 2 years of his entire career in Denver to start out under the zone blocking with the best offensive line he's ever seen with these 5 guys there. But what makes it even more special to me is that Kyle Shanahan can take things that he didn't understand or learn until now, get sped up for him with Joe Gibbs being there at head coach. What's made the San Francisco offense so scary this year is him going back into more, I know you didn't like me saying it, but the Eric Coryell fucking offense is what he's running now, which is not something that Mike did, and is not something he did prior. Who better to teach him about the Eric Coryell offense than a true disciple of Don Coryell himself, Joe Gibbs, helping answer any questions he has as far as what you need to do for the vertical game. With RG3 there in 2012, with Santana, Terry, and Pierre Garçon there, with a Chris Cooley that can go on the backfield to play the fullback position on options or all kinds of things, they are going to run rampant over. There's a run-first team that is going to
but your team only won 27-10. Mine won 49-3.
Yeah, because you're in your make-believe land. And then on defense, Greg Williams with his 4-3 defense. The thing that's going to make this defense really, really special on the
back of this. Okay, go ahead.
What makes this defense really, really special is up front with John Allen, Daron Payne being able to do things they do and just eat up space. Ryan Kerrigan, Chase Young are going to be able to eat. But the thing that makes it even more special than all that is that on this team, you've accounted for 2 freelancers. Well, 3 really. 3 guys that can actually, because of how well everybody else is playing within the scheme, they can actually go out and do playmaking things. I chose 2001 LeVar Arrington for a reason.
He was a monster.
LeVar being able to come down because he sees something instinctively. And they've got all the guard. They got the guards in the center all eaten up with Daron Payne and John Allen. You've got Kerrigan and Chase Young there. The lanes that LeVar Arrington has when he has now a full green light, if you see an opportunity to go take out the quarterback, go do it. And he can, because you know who's next to him? London Fletcher, who's never going to ever be out of position. He knows exactly where to fucking be.
We agree.
In 2012, London Fletcher, something special. Marcus Washington, 200004, great in fucking coverage.
And he had those braces too. You remember that?
I have the worst photo ever taken of me is me and Marcus Washington. It's the worst photo I've ever taken because he was my favorite player. You got to
find it now.
I'm not showing anyone. So it's and then on defense, and then in the secondary, Champ Bailey, D'Angelo Hall. D'Angelo Hall 2010, he had that game where he had the 4 interceptions in one game. He's
Jay Cutler's favorite receiver that day.
Yep. And Champ Bailey, everybody knows who he was come 2002. At that point, he had learned from Darryl. He had learned from Dion, and he started putting it together in his own way. He was a shutdown corner. If you have a shutdown corner and Champ Bailey on one side and D'Angelo Hall that loves baiting people into making the throw that they shouldn't make, he's going to eat.
I went to the I can't remember what it was called, but there was some sort of auto show going on where Daryl Green was supposed to be there signing autographs and stuff like that. Must have been like 11 or something at the time. I went with Paul Valmarescu, the guy who does the intro song. Shout out Pauly Polo and Ponderosa Fun Club. But instead, Champ Bailey showed up. And I remember that there were some rumors about Champ Bailey leaving. And so I asked, are you going to stay in DC? Because I don't know about all the contracts and stuff like that. And he said, we'll see, which was, as you'll learn, we'll see means fuck no, just in the sports world. And I think within days, he was gone. And we ended up getting Clinton Portis, which I remember at the time, I did not like the trade. And it wasn't because I met Champ. I was just like, I don't know. I feel like we're giving up a whole lot. And you look at the premium on the position now, if we could go back, if we were to make that trade now, it would be an insane trade.
It never happened now.
It would absolutely never happen now because we gave up what, Champ and a second?
Yes.
Holy shit.
It could never happen now, but early 2000s, there was a premium on running back.
Of course. Yeah. And I mean, Portis had back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons to Denver. You get it.
So the thing was, when it initially happened, I was extremely excited because Joe was back.
And his very first run for the franchise was that
64 yards against Tampa.
Yep, right.
When Joe got here, we all knew he needed his running back. So initially when I heard, because Clinton Portis was coming off of those seasons in Denver where it was like, holy shit, he might be the best guy in the league. But then as soon as you think about it, you saw the size of Clinton Portis, you were just like, that doesn't work for what Joe Gibbs does. And it was like immediately, that doesn't usually the guy that Joe Gibbs would want. But it's also last time Joe Gibbs coach was 91. It's a different league. Maybe he's doing something else. And at that point, you just realized there were certain concepts that Joe still had that worked in the NFL. But as far as the way that the offense itself would run and the counter trades and everything, defenses were too fast for what it is that he wanted to do. Just wasn't going to work out. But Sean Taylor, Ryan Clark on my team on the back end of the secondary. Ryan Clark was sneakily really, really, really good. And we actually, when we went and made the LaRon Landry mistake, was when Ryan Clark was actually getting into the best he was ever playing, which is the early in Pittsburgh years.
I was going to say, we end up seeing it in Pittsburgh.
Immediately. But the thing is that him and Sean Taylor actually developed a really, really good chemistry on the back end. And in 2007, Sean Taylor is when he played at his absolute smartest, is when he realized that he could still freelance, but he was starting to put it together as far as what it meant to really be the free safety and the ball hawk back there, and his closing speed and his instincts, Ed Reed-like, instinctively. It was
absolutely.
So
built like a linebacker. And for anyone that says that Sean Taylor couldn't make it in today's NFL, you're a fucking moron. I'm just going to say that right now.
I'd agree with that.
Because he is, I know that he hit hard because he was allowed to, but you bet your ass he could adjust to today's NFL with the ball hawking abilities that K-Dot's mentioning here. I just want to make that clear.
The second half of my defense, Champ shuts down an entire half of the fucking
That's
field.
what I mean, which is why we're rushing 5 every play, K-Dot. We are feasting on Mr. Irrelevant.
Here's the thing. I don't need to blitz. I really don't need.
We just standard rush 5. It's not a blitz. It's what we do.
So you run on a 5-2. So
you know how many other teams are going to run a 5-2 after they see us do it?
Life
is nothing but setting trends, my friend.
I'm just giving LeVar has the green light to do whatever he needs to do. Whatever he wants to do it. So if LeVar sees something, he needs to sit back in his zone. If he wants to blitz, LeVar is my guy who's do whatever you want. But Sean's not. Sean doesn't get to freelance as much as he used to because of what's happening in that secondary. D'Angelo Hall loved baiting quarterbacks, and he's going to be able to eat a lot because Champ has made the one side of the field nothing that anybody's ever going to throw to. So D'Angelo, I think, is going to. D'Angelo's the one who hits the stats on this.
Okay, defense. Fair enough. I think there's just no need to bait a QB at all. We're strapping up, baby. I mean, again, we're rushing these 5. I'm not sure how many passes Purdy's getting off that aren't already picked. You don't need to bait anything. He's just throwing it up like, please, no one's open.
Yeah,
as simple as that, K-Dot.
I want a defense, and I want a scheme, and I want an offense that's going to work beyond just San Francisco. That.
Oh, you don't think this is working against other teams?
No, I think your team. I think your team is close. I just think there's a couple guys that are just like on that defense that I look at and I'm like, I don't think they're going to play as a unit.
This team that I'm looking at right now, I could cry because it's
nostalgic and it's great.
Perfect is the word, and the only word it can be, because again. This 5-man rush, I mean, we're getting one-on-one every play. These guys are going to have to max protect like a motherfucker, and even then, we're probably getting through. And then that secondary, buddy, 3 points is nice the more I think about it. We may even block it. I mean, Danny Smith, our special teams coach, I don't know, man. 10 points? They're putting up 10 points on your defense? I don't see it. But Brock Purdy? I'm trying to give your team credit here.
No, I get it. I'm just trying to be realistic.
I don't understand that. This is a hypothetical question. Where does the realism come in?
The realism
Even though I
comes-
am being realistic, I'm being as realistic as can be.
All right, full disclosure. How long
Go
did it
ahead.
take you to make your list?
8 minutes because it was obvious.
I've been studying this thing for an hour and a half, 2 hours last night.
I think you may have overthought it. I think
Of course, I overthink everything. But the idea was that I really wanted to look through what would happen with the course of this team in the course of a season.
Mhm.
Early on, like I said, I think this defense is going to struggle early on. I think early on it's going to be Greg Williams trying to get everybody to play within scheme. I think LeVar's not going to want to. I think Sean's not going to want to. I think John Allen, Deron Payne are not going to want to. I think that you're going to see us get gashed running-wise, especially early on in the season.
Yeah, early. Yeah.
And then eventually, if they buy in, which is why I have Joe Gibbs, to get the buy-in, is to get them to kind of calm down.
And I think you and I are on the same page here in that we're built for December, January, February. That's what we're here to do.
Sort of.
Right.
I am curious about the way the offense works or how RG3 handles that the full way through.
Which is why I'm so intrigued. You chose Kyle Shanahan, didn't give him a fullback. I understand Cooley's going to be the H-back a little bit, but Mike Sellers is a staple, my friend. He is. You love Mike Sellers. I'm surprised he's not there.
I love Mike Sellers, but I actually think Darrell Williams fits better than Mike Williams than Mike Sellers does with Shanahan.
Wow. Okay.
Because if I'm looking at the way that Shanahan is going to utilize it, but I also look and I say that like the 3 wide receivers is what I'm looking at when it comes to. I don't want Kyle Shanahan I want Kyle Shanahan to have the run scheme that he has in 2012, but I need his passing game to not be what it is in 2012, which is why the Joe Gibbs combination with Kyle Shanahan is the one that I think works for this.
Okay.
Is that they have to change up the way that they were throwing in that scheme. This is going to be a vertical offense with a zone run blocking.
All right. I see you, K-Dot. My team will be able to do that and then some, obviously. But yeah, no, we both have really good teams. I completely agree.
Portis is pass blocking, man. That's that shit.
You know what's beginning to get wild is Green Bay's little run here, where them beating Miami, Tua lost his mind. I don't know what happened in that fourth quarter. 3 interceptions. And he was floating these things. Like, I don't know what happened. He looked good for 3 quarters.
I can tell you exactly what happened.
That was one of the worst. Like, they may genuinely miss the playoffs now. I think they'll still make it. But holy cow, they got a problem. Go ahead. What happened there?
I go back to when I said I was watching all 22. The key game this year for Miami is the Chargers game.
Where everything changed. Sure.
Now, what Green Bay did to them, or no, what Tua was doing in that game was he knew that he had his route again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He had his slant. He had his, I'm going to try to pull up the stat. He had his,
I can do that for you. You want his just game stats or what?
Yeah. I'm trying to pull up the stats of everybody that was on the offense.
Oh yeah, I can do that for you. I got it. What? Who do you want to know about?
First, Tua.
Tua 16 to 25, 310 yards, touchdown, 3 picks, took 2 sacks. QBR 23.1, passer rating 80.8.
Yeah, but and then mainly I just got to pull up. The other thing I wanted was box score, because early on in the game when it came to Waddle and it came to Tyreek Hill, well, mainly Waddle still was able to run those crossing routes, and they were able to hit in the zone. Tua really likes to. And they were kind of giving it to him to a certain degree in that first half. You heard the commentators actually talk about how teams in the prior weeks weren't giving this to Tua since the Chargers game. And that Green Bay, for some reason, was giving it to him. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to give Green Bay as much credit as to say that they were baiting Tua into second half collapse.
Yeah, that's way too much credit. Yeah.
But what I will say is that they made the adjustment on what it is they should have been doing the entire game, which is if you remove it's not even that much of the field from Tua, he doesn't know what to do anymore. He just doesn't know what to do.
On the topic of Green Bay, because I do have to run now, but gut reaction, 7th seed. Okay, we got the Seahawks at 7-8. We got the Lions at 7-8. We got the Packers at 7-8. We got us at 7-7-1. Which one of those 4 teams is in the final playoff spot?
Us.
We take care of business. We win the next 2.
Carson, I trust.
Carson, you trust. I hope you're right. Just on that note, I do hope you're right, because all any of us want is just for this team to be good and to win. I don't care who it is. Hopefully he's figured it out mentally.
Prefer it to be Heinicke.
I will actually say no. I think that there's more entertainment. We've talked about that for sure, but it doesn't mean it's better. So just to be clear, I don't care. Hey, if Carson's lighting it up, I'm all for it. I'm all fucking for it. He throws 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he's capable. He's more than capable. I would love it. Are you kidding me?
Of what the fan base is, which is too goddamn high or low, and all you guys need to be more medium.
Yeah, medium.
You guys aren't medium.
I'm medium.
You're not medium.
I'm absolutely medium.
You're not medium. And what you did was you know what you did? You did something white people did.
You've
gaslit me into being the crazy, screaming, angry black guy because you know how to bait me because you're not medium.
Yeah, okay, that's true. No, not the medium bit. I know how to bait you. Medium. I certainly know.
No, because you believe what you're saying. You're saying it with conviction, and you know how to needle and poke and just prod and fuck me up. I have always said, and you know this, sir. I have always said that the problem with Carson has been mental. If he can clear that up, he's good. Can you agree there? I've always said that. Yes.
If he has cleared it up mentally, and that's why I mentioned the bit about he has existed as a human being for 6 weeks here.
I'm not talking about Carson. That's my criticism, not about Carson.
Oh, you're going even deeper.
No, my criticism is your guys' filleting of Taylor.
You keep saying us guys.
You're part of the collective. The more you poke and prod me, is the more you're the leader of the fucking collective.
When did I become the leader of the collective?
When you got me fucking almost having a heart attack on the fucking pod.
Okay. Okay, but that was you made that too easy. You made that too easy.
Because it's annoying. All you guys are annoying. And once again, I'm saying you guys, because you're the once again the leader. It's fucking annoying. Here's the thing: is that I started noticing on Twitter. It finally broke this week. There are Commanders fans. No. Have you seen the Commanders fans? They're just like, fuck off. Like they're just getting angry about it because it's just like we're not the only
Go ahead.
Yeah, fuck it. We're not being crazy. We're just like, can none of us look at reality anymore? It's like looking at Trumpers.
Do you want to know what?
Can we just look? Can we say that we're seeing the same thing?
What I really think is that not enough people acknowledge the potential reality that neither one of these guys is the guy, and therefore it becomes Heinicke versus Wentz. When really, if neither one,
but that's not what the Wentz side is saying. That's not what anyone on the Wentz side is saying.
Wentz side is saying he could be. They're not saying he is.
Wentz side is just saying, can we see? We haven't seen enough. That's it. Yeah. That's all we're saying.
Therefore, could be.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just going.
Look, we're not ecstatic about it. None of us are like, he can absolutely do it.
You sound pretty ecstatic about it.
I'm ecstatic about. I want to see. You know what I'm ecstatic about? I think Jahan and Terry are better now than they were week 4.
Of course, Jahan. We mentioned it last week. They're going to try and erase Terry. Jahan's going to have to be the guy, and he played really well in that first half.
Jahan should have had.
Oh, if he hadn't dropped that thing. He could turn and burn.
Jahan has 2 additional touchdowns in that game if the ball was put on him correctly.
I think the first one was behind him for sure, but it did hit him in the hands. That he should have caught.
Once again, if the ball is placed correctly.
I think it was in the second best spot.
Fuck off. He was it. If the ball is placed correctly, he's good to go. And that's I just want to see some, because don't tell me that you didn't at least breathe a sigh of relief when you saw how quick the ball came out. Like you said,
Of course I enjoyed it. Everyone enjoys it.
Difference.
He's got a zip to it.
It's just like, oh
Wentz
shit,
has a zip to it.
That's an NFL arm. Got it. Cool.
Of course. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. Straight up.
Every time Taylor throws a deep ball, it feels like I should be watching it in black and white. Like it's just like it should be a reel. It's just this big wind up and oh!
Let's see how Carson does. I don't think you believe me when I say I want it to work. But I do. Because I want this team to have a quarterback.
I do too. I just don't. I think Washington fans are so high and low on every. I think we make snap judgments, and for the most part, not me. I'm usually medium. Not me. I'm usually medium. I just think you guys wrote off Carson because you got so negative about him. Where it is, you should have been more medium on him than as negative as you were. That's my issue. I think that people were rushing to make firm judgments on things when there needed to be more that was seen, and that's it. Is I think we get so high and low sometimes, and I don't blame anybody because of how this franchise has gone for so many years. Right? We've talked about that.
Yeah,
but there is an onus to want him. No, this is what it is now. This is as worse as it's ever been. Or it's as great as it's ever been.
There was one player in particular where I really remember just being like, this dude, so frustrated, was that red zone pick against Tennessee. And that was, again, Scott Turner not giving it to Brian Robinson Jr. at the goal line. If we were to look at issues, we've got offensive line first and foremost, because it's nearly impossible to run anything you want to if you can't block.
Right.
Then, to me, it's the OC, and we may disagree there. And then I think it's QB. But those are the three most important pillars in an offense, in my opinion. Your offensive line, you need that to work in order to even have a conversation about anything, unless you have a Patrick Mahomes or a Joe Burrow or even Justin Herbert, who face pressure pretty consistently, Burrow and Herbert in particular, and still find ways to produce.
I agree with you. The only thing I'd say number one, offensive line.
Yep.
Number two is play calling. Number three is quarterback.
Fine.
Number four,
I see the distinction. Okay.
Yeah.
Then yes, play calling. I agree. Look at us, we agree. Offensive line, play calling, QB. I think we got problems with the first two. So that's where I go.
But I think scheme and QB can make up for some stuff.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, 3 and 4 can help make up. Absolutely. Just that's the Burrow Herbert to me. QB is so fucking good. Scheme and maybe talent is so fucking good.
Right.
That they can overcome, like Herbert's rookie year, that was the worst offensive line in football. Documented across the board. ESPN, PFF, you name it. Everyone was like, this sucks.
Yep.
but Herbert's great. And then, I would agree with that. I don't think we have enough of scheme and QB to overcome those first two, but we'll see. Looking forward to it. This was a pleasure. Yeah. Looking forward to Friday, 2 p.m., guys. We've got ourselves the Browns preview. Deshaun Watson has looked terrible since coming back. May that
it's getting better.
Continue. Yeah, no, that's the thing that worries me. But Friday, 2 p.m. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.